why on earth would I pay you less to get that to me faster than the other guy who's going to take so long?
Hey everybody, welcome to Bravisium. This is our second episode. We have someone with the same last name, but a very different effort. So Keith was on last week and he talked about his work in real estate. We ventured into fatherhood and relationships. So that will be releasing the prior week to this. Noah works in a similar industry, but a totally different part of it. He is the founder and CEO of Dent Ops, which is a specialized service provider that has revolutionized the administrative side of the paintless dent repair, or PDR. You'll hear that reference a lot, industry. With over a decade of experience that began on the Hail Trails of Louisiana, which we'll get into, alongside his dad, he identified a massive gap in how technicians were compensated for their work in repairing dents to cars from hailstorms. He realized that while the technicians were masters of their craft, they were often failing to communicate the value of their repairs in a language that insurance companies respected, because insurance speak is very different from working in a shop speak. Yep. Since founding Dent Ops in early 2022, Noah has scaled the company to serve over 360 operations across 45 states. His firm is credited with identifying over $36 million in missing operations for its clients by scrubbing, which is a company term, I believe. Estimates find overlooked procedures, and R&I, which is removal and install tasks. Noah is a prominent voice in the collision repair industry. He has frequently appeared on different podcasts in the industry and panels to advocate for better claim management and higher operational standards. Notably, despite his deep expertise, he has never personally performed a PDR repair, which is an interesting anecdote we'll get into, focusing his entire career on the logistics, software, and financial advocacy to keep the industry profitable. Now, I've known Noah for years, so I know that is almost like a misleading statement a little bit, because that might be true, but it's not like you don't actually have experience. So we'll dive deeper into that as we go. But Noah, thank you so much for being on the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Yes, sir. The first time I ever met you, I think the first time we probably met at church on a week, but the first time I remember was at your family's house. Y'all were playing volleyball in the backyard, and I was like, this family's so cool, man. They got like pool and volleyball, and they're adult people, like young people, like 16 to 23, and they all actually still like each other because, come from a somewhat fragmented family background. Yeah. And I always kind of idolized your family in the sense of you're entrepreneurial. You guys have been making your way. I thought the whole PDR hail repair industry is fascinating because, as you guys often say, it's like white collar money for blue collar work. Yeah. You've ventured into the white collar side of it, I guess, with technology.
Trying to.
But yeah, I've always admired what you all do there, and it's always been a fascinating topic to me. So I would like to start out a little bit with this $36 million statement that's out there about your company. Can you elaborate on that and a little bit about what your industry is in general?
Yeah, definitely. So that number is a good bit higher at this point now. That's probably outdated. We just need to update our website, but I think we're up to
perpetually.
Yeah, exactly. So it's never ending. I think we're up to over 600 shops now. So up from that 360 number. Wow. And then we're well over 100 million, probably closer to 150 million or so that we've been able to help shops get back. And so for our industry in general, well, paintless dent repair, I think you need to have a little bit more context into paintless dent repair as a whole. It's a subsegment of the automotive repair industry in general, specifically like body shops, which is, the exteriors of the cars. Most of the time you get into some structural stuff, mechanical stuff maybe, but really think about like cosmetic repairs or automotive reconditioning where you're just making your car look better. So paintless dent repair falls into that category. And as a whole, the industry is really, really young compared to the body shop or collision industry in general. So by different metrics, I mean, some people would say 20, 30 years, but really like the art of paintless dent repair, so to speak, was probably more like 60-ish years ago that it really started becoming a thing. Over in Europe first, I think in Germany, and then they started coming over into the US. And it was actually a really, really protected trade for a while where people who knew how to do paintless dent repair, they would actually, if they went to a dealership, for example, and said, hey, I can fix your cars, they would have a tent and it would be completely closed off and people weren't allowed to come into the tent. They would be fixing the cars in there so that they could protect like their secret, right? Mm. And so it took a while.
It sounds like magic.
It does.
Because it's paintless and the cars are dented. And when you guys said that, I was like, this is some wizardry.
Yeah. And so By paintless, we mean you don't need to paint your car. Right. So, and I'm not trying to sell PDR here, although it is higher value in general. But whenever you paint your car, if you get in an accident or something and you take your car to go sell it, and the dealership goes and checks and they say, oh, this was in an accident. Now your car is worth a little bit less when you sell it. Right. Mm-hmm. It's the way that they can tell, and the reason it's devalued is because it doesn't have the original paint on it. The car isn't original anymore. And you're never going to have as good of a paint job as what you get from the factory, like with the machines and everything that put it on uniform around the whole car. I mean, you've probably seen it before when you see a car drive by where it either has a completely different color panel on it or it's like slightly different that you can notice it. You're like, something happened.
Impossible to match that original
exactly.
color.
It's basically impossible. And then the texture of it too is what we call orange peel. Different cars have different orange peels, and this is all, getting very technical into PDR in general. So a good paintless dent repair technician, their whole job is to restore that panel so you don't have to paint it. You don't have to put filler or Bondo or anything on it. And then also match that orange peel, because you can take a dent out, but then if that dent still looks like it's different from the rest of the panel, then like that's also a problem. So anyways, it started to gain traction. People started to train like their friends and family, or people would pay a lot of money to learn the trade because you can fix all these cars that would normally take weeks in a body shop and thousands of dollars worth of damage you could fix in a day or even in hours with paintless dent repair. So the value proposition, I know and like Alex Hermosi. So like if you were to apply the value equation to paintless dent repair versus body shops, mm-hmm. it would blow it out of the water in terms of value. Yeah. But because it's such a less of an industry, historically it's been underpaid compared to body shops, because that's like the industry standard, right? That's the status quo. So you would take a car to a body shop, it would cost X, Y, and Z to replace the part or to fill it in for the materials and the time and the labor and everything. Well, paintless dent repair is kind of the new kid on the block, has had a really difficult time penetrating the market in terms of like just perception, but also for like insurance carriers and repairs in general. But it's been growing very significantly. So that's
what's the antagonism? Like if you had to verbalize why people are suspicious of it, and Micah, if you wouldn't mind grabbing my laptop charger for me, rookie mistake. What is the reason that, every new market entry, there's the apprehension for blank reasons. Mm-hmm. What are the typical pushbacks? Like, no, this is not.
Largely awareness. I would say it's largely awareness, because it's just like anything else that's new. It has, like, people have to be aware of it and know that there are alternatives out there. Like if you're to take your car to a body shop, the body shop might not tell you, unless they have a PDR technician that's in there, they might not tell you that it's even an option. They're just going to say, we're going to have to slap some filler on this, and we're going to have to paint it and sand it and all that good stuff. So market awareness is a big one, but then too, just like a lot of industries, you have some people who ruin it for other people also. So there are some providers who might like walk around parking lots looking for people, and this is still a problem now, but it's less of a problem than it used to be. But who would walk around parking lots looking for people who have dents on their car, who might be like going into shop at a mall or something, and then they would say, "Hey, I can fix that for like $200 or whatever." And then people might pay them up front, and then they come back out to their car and it's just hacked, and they stuck something behind it and they're like popping the dents out. But now they've got like, pricks up from the backside of the dent where you had the dent in from the outside before, right? You have it's like popped out, but definitely looks bad. Maybe even looks worse than it was before. And so that's people's idea of, oh, this is paintless dent repair. And
when you were saying that, it reminded me of how people generally just don't like door-to-door sales at all, even though it's very effective. Yeah. And it makes people feel like you're invading their privacy and everything. So even before you said there was a bad outcome, I think people perceive that kind of selling as somewhat predatory feeling. Not that it is. There's lots of good people who are just trying to make an income, who are knocking on doors. But yeah, that's even worse, that they come out and it's a bad job.
Yeah.
I kind of want to pause the interview for a second. So we'll freeze the frame here, and actually want to show a video of what good paintless dent repair looks like that'd be cool. In the background. And we'll come back. So that's an example of what effective paintless dent repair looks like. And I think I sent one to you like a year ago where it was like, wow, this is mesmerizing, because the way that I didn't know any of the tools. I mean, I haven't known you guys for years. Yeah. I did not know
It's artistic.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was blown away by how much detail, how much time went into it. And then you get to, your techs get super fast at it too.
Yeah. Like my dad is an incredibly fast technician, which is part of the reason that people like him to come and work on deals that they have for hail repair in particular, because that's a whole different conversation. But the faster the technician, as long as they're good, I mean, every car that you're running through, that's dollars. So the more cars you can get through in a shorter period of time in a single bay, we call it like dollars per bay, because they obviously need a bay to work in. That's a higher ROI for the overall operation.
Yeah. So there's a statement out there that's floating around that the average PDR tech is leaving about $1,400 on the table for every claim, and that ties into this dollars per bay, I'm assuming. Why is there this huge gap between what they could be where they could be in terms of profit and where they actually sit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this goes back to the whole body shop versus PDR shop. Body shops being the status quo, and PDR shops being the new kids on the block. It's kind of like, I'm sure you've studied different parts of history and everything. It's kind of like how a lot of the world grew up separate from like Asia or China, right? And like they developed their own like language system and just inventions and everything, and then the rest of the world developed their own stuff independently. Yeah. That's kind of happened in PDR versus collision and body shops. So the pricing for insurance claims in particular has evolved to be labor hours, right? So body labor, mechanical labor, so those types of things, and paint hours, right? Because it's very much around paint. Paintless dent repair obviously doesn't have that. And so paintless dent repair has evolved more around the dents themselves and the size of the dents and the depth of the dents and the quantity of the dents. And so the pricing structures are very different between them. They've just evolved very differently between them. And so comparatively, when you have a hail car is just a great example because it's what we primarily deal with. When you have a hail car, if you were to go and price it at a body shop, they're going to be looking in terms of replacement costs or
of like panels.
Of panels. Like we're going to replace the hood on this, replace the door on it, so on and so forth. And then all of the operations that go along with those replacements. Or they're going to be pricing it in terms of what we call like a conventional repair, which is again like a filler, paint, so on and so forth, in order to fix the damage in the traditional conventional body shop way, versus paintless dent repair, which is how do we take these dents out of the car? And again, it's going to be quantity, size of the dents, so on and so forth. So what we were looking at is basically how do we compare these two things? It's kind of like houses, right? You're going to compare these houses that have similar features and functions in order to come up with a price for what you might sell your house for, or what's a fair price to buy a house for. We've taken a similar approach with paintless dent repair and hail especially, to be able to say, okay, what would be the comparable body shop price for some of these things, so that we can create a more market average pricing for the repairs that we're doing here. And going directly back to like the example I gave with the value equation, PDR is significantly more valuable as a repair. If you look at the end state, how long it takes, the end product, so on and so forth, significantly more valuable than a conventional repair where possible, right? Because if paint's broken or whatnot, then it might not be possible. So historically, paintless dent repair has paid or is valued a lot less than conventional repairs. So there's this gap. How do we close that gap? Well, you have to do like call it like a market analysis or a comparative analysis to figure out what that pricing is. And so that's the main reason why there's that gap. Like call it $1,400. It can be a lot higher sometimes. Sometimes it can be lower. But
so if I had to summarize for the non-PDR audience, tell me if I go wrong here.
Sure.
Basically, PDR is much more cost effective of a repair and has a lot of benefits in terms of how it actually comes out. But because it's more cost effective, it could be easy for the insurance companies to say, hey, we're going to pay you $1,000 less for this. But the repair value is of the same or better than body shop. So it's basically helping the people who process these PDR claims to actually understand the value of what they're doing comparatively.
Yes. And we're working really hard. There's a lot of people in the industry who are working very hard to increase the perceived value of what we do in PDR. Because we don't want to be the low cost leaders. Like if we provide a more valuable repair, then you want to get paid accordingly.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I'm observing with software right now is AI is commoditizing software.
Yeah,
and so we're like, man, vibe coding is the opportunity I think of our lifetime.
Yeah,
and so we're trying to lean into that, and at the same time, as a company not lose that the word we have been obsessed with for 8 years is leads. And that can be different for different verticals. So e-commerce is going to be sales, but it's that conversion. And when you have new technology that comes in and lowers the cost of doing something, it doesn't necessarily lower the value. Oftentimes it can increase it if it's a better way of doing it. And there's a danger to kind of self-deteriorate the value of your own product. And I think from most entrepreneurs I've talked to, they are inclined to do that. And so that's one of the reasons it's really nice to actually have a team. So I have a sales guy who's like, I'll tell him something. He's like, no, this is worth this. And he sees through value and he earns commissions. And so he's like, what should we be charging for this? And you see these Hormozy reels floating around everywhere because he spent $1 billion in branding and did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's had a conversation recently, as one I think I saw the last few days, where there was a demand generation company just like ours, and they were talking about, we're kind of at this ceiling, and he was like, well, you're probably not charging enough. You have the right amount of clients, your mix, you probably are just kind of adopting a lot of extra work and scope creep. And the guy was like, yeah, that's probably it. And he said, so why aren't you charging more? And he's just like, well, this is the industry standard pricing. He's like, well, are you the industry standard or are you better? And obviously the guy's not going to say if he's just standard or worse than standard. But that's kind of thing. Like, even though you can bring efficiency and we can charge 75% of the cost to build a software for someone and do it faster and better, it doesn't necessarily mean we should charge less, because we can do it faster and better and answer their support tickets day by day. And response times can be so much better because we're okay with the fact that AI in an isolated quandary can be smarter than we can. Yeah. Because one programmer is not necessarily able to be an expert across 5 programming languages and 100 different interfaces. So the devaluing because you can do it better at cheaper is not necessarily the best way to go.
It's a really, really hard mindset shift, I think, that's super important that you touched on there. And I've thought about it similar, like take just web development. You could code a website from scratch, right? That takes a lot of knowledge and time in order to do. Or then you have, WordPress when WordPress came out, and now you can spin up websites and you can it handles a lot of that tedious stuff. Then you have like the website builders like Wix and Weebly and things like that make it that much faster. And now you've got the vibe coding that makes it even faster and faster and faster. Yeah. Just because somebody might still be hand building websites from scratch, they could build the exact same website as somebody who uses, a tool like Lovable or one of the other AI builders or anything. At the end of the day, they're the same website. And as a customer who's buying that website, really what I'm paying for, okay, if it's the same end result, then what I'm paying for is speed. Like you just got this thing to me that much faster. Why on earth would I pay you less to get that to me faster than the other guy who's going to take so long? So on one hand, I value the skill that person has developed over time. But on the other hand, I'm a customer. And so what is it that I'm paying for? And that's like so anyways, you touch it on that. I think it's a super, super important dynamic that a lot of businesses miss, which is just because you can do it faster, cheaper, or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean as an entrepreneur, you're probably constantly trying to improve your stuff.
Yeah, you should be.
You should be. And same with actually PDR, tying it back into PDR. Just because you're a PDR technician that's getting faster and faster and faster over time, does that mean that you should charge less than the guy who just started out, who it takes them 3 times as long to fix that dent that you're working on right now? No, absolutely not. You've developed that skill over time, and that's what people are paying for. That's why they came to you versus the other guy who said it's going to take them 3 days versus you who said it would take you 1 day in order to produce the same result.
Yeah, if you can so if quality and outcome is the same, then you come down to price and speed. And then if you can do it faster for lower cost, you should be able to increase your quality too. So I'm totally presuming here, but when you're working on a dent, if you don't know the best way to go about it and you kind of work it the wrong way and you work the material more and more, you get more deterioration of the finish, whatever. I think you do it from the inside, so maybe not.
Inside, outside, there's different ways to do it.
Yeah, but the person that has learned how to do it faster at a better cost now can spend more time on quality. And that's one of the interesting things. So with us, we launched a CRM for real estate brokerage a few months ago, and their whole experience with software, and they've been around for 20 years. They've had at least 2 in the last 5 years, is they would put in a support ticket. It would take a while to get a response, like a week. And typically the actual fix would be a month out if it gets rolled into the patch that they're going to process that month. and we just fix everything the same day the ticket comes in.
Yeah.
And then typically it's a symptom, and we solve actually the root problem as well. But
Yeah, that's
venturing off
huge.
into vibe coding. But
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. So I guess my numbers are a little dated. So not 36 million. We're looking at over 100 million in money saved in this industry with these claims and adjustments. I want to backtrack a little bit to this first storm you ever saw. I'm not sure if you saw the storm or just the outcome of the damage in Louisiana. Tell me a little bit about. Every entrepreneur has different reasons for going into their industry. Sometimes it's a lifestyle thing. Sometimes it's like I love horses, so I'm going to go work with horses.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a business move. What was the formation of your interest in this industry through that lens of the first storm in Louisiana?
Yeah. So first storm wouldn't have been in Louisiana. I've worked in Louisiana a couple times, but my first storm would have actually been in high school that I ended up working.
Okay.
And so I got into the industry through my dad, right? So you interviewed Keith. And he's been working in the paintless net repair industry for pretty much my whole life, and I'm sure you have some background on him in that. But like he started as an airframes mechanic in the Marine Corps, and so he was already working on metal. And so his transition, who we call my uncle Matt, he's like a funkle, right? He's actually my godfather. He was the one who trained my dad in the industry. And going back to something I said before, a lot of people came into this industry through friends, family, like cross-trained like that. So my dad's been in the industry for a long time. I started doing what's called R&I. So I didn't fix the cars themselves. I didn't push dents myself. I have pushed on dents, but I've never fixed one fully. So that's true. But I would actually take apart the cars and put them back together. I would take apart the cars so that the PDR technicians could fix them as easily and as fast as possible. Because at the end of the day, you're kind of measuring things and how fast can a PDR tech fix this car. Their time is best spent on metal, and they're the highest producing, typically the highest producing, wheel or part of the operation. And so you need to keep them on metal as much as possible. So I would take apart the cars so that they could fix the cars as fast as possible. I'd put the cars back together, button them up, and then we'd send them off. And so my first deal would have been in Richmond. I think I was a junior or going into my junior year of high school. And it was a dealership. I think it was a Ford dealership actually in Richmond that had gotten hit with hail. So really convenient for me because that's close enough to home that I could go and I could work it. And introduction into there, that I think I was making $100 a day or $10 a car. So as a high schooler, like that was pretty awesome in the summertime. Yeah. And we were really, really incentivized to do more than 10 cars in a day, like take apart and put back together more than 10 cars in a day, because then you'd make over $100. So working really, really hard on that. And I was definitely blessed that there were some other experienced R&I guys that were there who could show me and my friend Ian how to actually do that work. So that's what got me into the industry. And then from there, I ended up working on a lot of dealerships all over the country. After high school, that's what I did. Like that was my job during storm season. So I just traveled around doing dealerships, body shops, retail PDR shops, kind of all across the board. Started with dealerships, which was a great way to break in and just do volume, just work on tons and tons. I've worked on thousands of cars and experience all different makes and models. Then transitioned into body shops and retail PDR shops where it's slower, but the per car price that you're getting paid is much higher because it's not wholesale. Dealerships are wholesale.
Oh, I was going to ask, were dealerships more profitable because they had basically inventory on a lot and potentially new cars? So I'm surprised that
if you can crank through volume, then dealerships can be a phenomenal deal for you, whether you're a PDR technician or an R&I technician, but you're going to be usually paid on a per car basis. Like they're just going to blanket price. It might be on all the vehicles on the lot, or it might be based on cars, trucks, SUVs, a different price for them. And that just varies. Every deal is different. Every deal is different. It's a very independent industry where there are lots and lots of players. There are individuals, so most of the technicians are independent technicians. They're just subcontractors, and there are also brokers. And so a dealership could get hit. A local PDR company might service that dealership account and have a good enough relationship or agreements in place that they get to fix the cars on the dealership. Or brokers and big players could come in and try to bid the deal. Happens a lot. So it depends on who you end up working for and like how the deal is structured. that was definitely a learning curve too while I was traveling, is how do I know I'm getting on a good deal? Like, what are the things I should be figuring out? Because early on, you're just like, you're sure, I'll take a deal. Sounds good enough. And then
First company I acquired was like that. It's not a good deal.
Yeah, not a good deal. That's how you learn.
That's how I learned. Got out of it, thankfully.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I end up relating back to a lot is kind of the E-Myth model, which we mentioned for a moment, which is this, hey, came into McDonald's, learned how to get that unit cost down, learned how to get the skilled labor down to as pennies, as few pennies as humanly possible, and scale McDonald's all over the world, versus the purple cow approach, which is like special forces team. You are the custom agency. You're going to be paid a lot, even though you do similar things to other companies. Yeah, the boutique, hyper creative, whatever. So you said that every deal is different. Have you found that nature of this industry being A, seasonal, very seasonal, and B, deals being very, very custom have made it more difficult to reliably scale because you don't have kind of this flat cash flow picture?
Do you mean, are you talking about as as an independent in the PDR industry, or are you talking about it like as my business now?
With
like
Dent Ops? Yeah, because
Gotcha.
I imagine you're servicing those industries primarily. Maybe you've found other industries.
Those are the industries. Yeah, those are the industries. And and it's been one of the greatest challenges, I think, with our industry is building on such a rocky isn't the right word, but inconsistent and unpredictable as hail in particular is, because hail is the biggest driver of the industry. Like there's retail stuff, like people get shopping cart damage and deer hits and stuff that PDR can fix and everything. That's just, it's also very inconsistent and it's such low volume. When it happens, that hail is like the big driver. Business 10x's overnight if you get a hailstorm come through, right? So, but hail only happens for 2/3 of the year, maybe something like that. Hail started falling over the last couple of weeks, so it could start in March. It started as soon as February before, is from what technically in different parts of the country, like Texas, it can hail all year round, but those are such competitive markets down there. There's so much competition.
This is one of the funny parts of knowing you guys and not knowing much about the industry, because my impression of your family is always these like traveling gypsies.
Yeah.
You got out of it, so you're working on the software side now. But being around you guys the last decade or so, it was kind of like you're here and you're super ingrained in the community, and then you're like you're gone. And then there's pictures of you in like Montana,
get a call,
Arkansas, and Hawaii or whatever.
Yeah, get a call next day, 2 days later, you're gone.
And so I can't imagine, aside from the business reliability and scaling, I imagine that lifestyle can be difficult, which may be why it's friends and family centric, because you're constantly like feeling uprooted. So did that have any part to play in you changing from the R&I side to the software side?
Definitely. Well, you know my wife, Bryn. So when we started dating, I was actually on the road. We met through a mutual friend, actually through Snapchat. I had seen Bryn on friends.
For once in a while, a good thing comes out of Snapchat.
Yeah. Seriously, which was weird. It's a whole crazy story in and of itself. But we met through that and started talking while I was on the road. And so it was about 2 months, I think, that we were talking before we actually ever met in person. And then obviously we're married now. So it's like you kind of skip towards the end of the story. But while we were dating, she grew up with a family who largely works like 9 to 5 and is local. So me growing up, it was normal to go traveling and to be away. And, we have that kind of separation. You build that kind of like resilience and everything. Completely abnormal for her and a lot of other people too. Yeah. And so that would definitely, our industry is really, really difficult on relationships. Really, really hard for relationships. And so there was definitely added pressure, not really pressure, added motivation to figure out a different way to do things. And I've always, as I was traveling, I've always had a background in technology. I was always doing things. I was, like in middle school and high school, I was like doing hacking and stuff like that. I was learning technology. I was learning to code, And so I've always loved that kind of stuff. And while I would travel, I would build systems to help make the operations that we were working better, because I had a vested interest in it. The more cars we could work on, the better I could track my production, the more I could verify that I earned, because there's a lot of trust in the industry where there shouldn't be, where I'm just trust that you're going to pay me what I earned when it's commission based, right? Yeah. So building those kinds of things definitely set me up to have a really good picture overall of how an operation operates and the problems that there were in the industry. Like a lot of industries is very behind the curve in terms of technology and technology adoption. So there's still is a lot of market opportunity in that. And that's what kind of planted the seed for Dent Ops originally, which my original intention with Dent Ops was actually like CRMs and workflow management, because that's what I really cared about. I'm like, how do we make this thing run smoother? Then working in different operations is kind of the origin of Dent Ops in its current form. Was I saw that there was such a discrepancy in the pricing side of things between the body shops and the PDR shops. Anecdotally, we worked in a body shop, and the body shop, we would give an estimate for maybe $6,000 to fix a car, and the insurance company would chop us off at the knees and approve us for $3,000 to fix it. And we're like, now we got to supplement, ask for more, and so on and so forth, because they didn't give us what we needed to begin with. And then the body shop would turn in an estimate for 20 grand, and the insurance company would just approve them for 20 grand. We're like, what the heck's going on? Like, why is it that was perfectly fine? They didn't bat an eye, but ours is just completely fought it. And it was that translation. It was the language we were talking about.
Yeah.
We were giving estimates in one format. The body shop was giving estimates in a different format. The insurance company looking at ours like, this does not compute. Like, this doesn't match up with what we're seeing. The body shops did.
Yeah.
And so that was the first major gap. And then from there, it's been a lot of learning. Okay, where are the other gaps? Where are the other optimizations we can do here? And that's where Dent Ops, we really started as a bridge to bridge the PDR language to the body shop language, which then we coined the term translation in our industry. And now since then, other companies, I know we've talked about some things, but since then, other companies have used the terminology too, which is great. That helps for the market awareness aspect of things. But yeah, and that's how we've kind of grown from there.
So I had an employer in my early 20s, and he didn't really do anything particularly unique, but was building on an industry. And so he had a philosophy on copycats.
Yeah.
And partially because he was one, and he was trying to differentiate himself, which is just weird. But he had this philosophy that was basically like, hey, if you are the leader with the unique product, the unique strategy, unique whatever, there's always going to be copycats. And sometimes fighting those battles are worth it, but oftentimes because you are the leader, you had the greatest brand awareness, and overall there's not much worth in chasing that down, because by the time you chase that down, you just lost all what makes you unique in terms of your ability to continue being the differentiator.
Totally.
And so as long as they're copycatting, they're always going to have diminishing returns, because you're bringing the unique value to the market, but you also have to win the marketing game. You also have to win the awareness game. Because if someone does come along copycat and they're better at the awareness game, then what you might run into is, oh, they took our product and they're better at getting it out there than we are.
Well, there's a market perception thing. The market only knows what the market knows. Like, and if they don't know you, then that's a problem.
Yeah. So you started to touch on this. This is going to be the next place I went here. So you started it as a CRM product, and you found that was a really hard sell. I think is what I was able to come across. So why was that a hard sell, and how did that differentiate from what you're doing now in terms of being an easier sell?
Definitely. And I love that question, because I think it's such a super valuable concept that for me to learn, and I think other people would take benefit of it too. There can be a lot of problems. There are lots and lots of problems out there to solve, but there is usually an order to the problems that you should solve. What I found was, in particular from my industry, looking at it like really holistically, most people, it's a really hard sell when you go to somebody and you say, you have a workflow problem. You could be operating a lot more efficiently. Like, you can solve these issues.
Immediately asleep.
Immediately asleep. Like, no, I don't. Like, I get like a few jobs a week. I'm perfectly fine. That's totally manageable. While my focus was a lot more on when it hails, your volume 10x's overnight. And so you might not think that you have a problem right now, but as soon as it hails, you're going to have a problem, because those small inefficiencies also 10x, and now they're big inefficiencies, and now you're trying to juggle all these things. The problem there, though, is you're so busy, you don't have the time to implement those solutions there too. Right. So really what I was trying to do was to sell a cure for something that was impractical to implement when you actually needed the cure, and nobody wants to buy the prevention, right? There's a whole saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it was a very, very difficult sell on the workflow management side of things. The estimating side, what we do now, was a very, very easy sell, because I say, you give me your estimate, I will, within 24 hours, 90% of our stuff actually comes back within 5 hours, but you give me your estimate, we will optimize it, we will essentially hand you more money. That's all you have to do. Send it to me, I'll optimize it, hand you more money. By the way, if we don't get you more money, you don't have to pay for it. Like, super, super easy sell. Yep. People will do that all day long, and the barrier to entry is so low. Just send it to me. right? And we'll take care of it. We'll show you the results. And if you want to keep going from that point, then cool. We'll come up to an arrangement and we'll keep on doing business together, right? So that partly has to do with flow. When I'm looking at the sequence of problems to solve, that workflow management and everything, which I'm still completely interested in, partly because I love that and it's just so much fun. It kind of goes back to the vibe coding and the systems and stuff like that. I just think it's so cool and so much fun. But that's still not the problem to solve. You really need to load them up probably with leads, right? Marketing and leads. They don't think they have a problem because they don't have enough volume to put a magnifying glass on the problem.
Right.
So you need to help them get that magnifying glass on that problem. That's why I say there's a sequence to the problems that you need to solve or the solutions you need to create. First, solve the volume, then solve, for us, that might be the estimating and the claims. Then you solve the workflow management. Like, oh man, I have, for example, part of the reason we even moved into claims, which I know we haven't talked about in here yet, but we started with the estimating, right? And then this goes perfectly into what I was just
estimating being you want to send a better quote to the insurance company for reimbursement.
Yeah, to get a higher approval. And then we literally had shops that were like, yeah, these estimates are coming back great, but I have not had time to submit them to the insurance company. We're like, holy crap, you're not going to get a whole lot of benefit out of us. You're going to keep on paying us, but now you've got 10 estimates that you just haven't had the time to send to the insurance company. You're not going to be paying us for very long because you're going to find I'm not getting an ROI out of these things because it literally isn't making it to the insurance company.
It'd be like us sending qualified leads and them not having time to follow up.
Exactly. They're not going to work with you for too long because they got a problem that they haven't solved on their own or that you haven't solved for them yet. So that's where we actually transitioned into the claim stuff. First was to not do negotiations or anything. Now we do, but originally it was no results are going to happen unless this information gets over to the insurance company. So let's make a solution, an add-on solution, so that after we write the estimates, if you're too busy, we'll get it over to the insurance company for you so that this thing can actually work for you and that you can keep on sending estimates through us because you're getting an ROI.
How often did you end up sending them for them?
So to start with, that's hard to say because the breakdown, we have a significant number of the shops that use our estimating services use our claim services now. To start with, we do everything is like kind of a beta test first, like a closed beta test, and then we roll it out to the rest of the market. And then like anything else, it's like people recognize us for one thing and they still, don't quite know the other things that we do. So to start with, it was probably a solid 75% of the shops who we would bring up the solution to would use that solution, the submission part of it. And we're constantly tweaking it and trying to create different packages and everything to like really optimize for that because it's add-on, right? It's like, how do you make more money? You look at what's your revenue per customer, and it can either be you get them to buy more or you get the average spend like per purchase to be higher, so on and so forth. Like, so that for us was very much like how do we get them to increase the overall amount that our companies are spending per job that they send over to us by producing more value, not just increasing the price arbitrarily, but creating more value and extracting a piece of that value.
So there's a raw material there that I think is valuable, at least in our age, in our businesses. So I'm 30. How old are you?
Almost 30. Yeah, 29.
30. Yeah. So we're the same age, very similar businesses, just totally different industries, business sizes, I think, maybe. I don't know. But there is this ability to, and I think this is why I've seen businesses gone over the other side of the watershed and fall apart because what you're talking about is you're able to sniff out, and maybe you're looking at through the lens of your own internal operations and make more money, of a value ladder of how do I make more money, but you've connected that to the needs of the customer. So 8 years ago, I never would have assumed that we'd be building software.
Yeah.
But what we found was that once we got into these relationships and we're building attribution and driving leads and doing all this stuff, that the companies we're working with very much so struggle with actual clean data signal internally to say some of the numbers I was showing you and these things I'm building for us right now. We're always doing things slowly for ourselves internally because we're worried about customers or focused on customers. But the ability to tie together, the customer needs this and we can make more money here. It can actually transform your company, and some people aren't comfortable with that. So it's like, well, why would I do this? This is what I do. And what we found is that we actually have gone deeper into the relationship into, okay, we're sending these qualified leads. Now, how do the systems work after that?
Yeah.
How do your follow-up systems work? Do you track them? Do you organize them when they're passed? In real estate, it's hard because kind of like yours, you have lots of subcontractors.
Yeah.
The agents are subcontractors oftentimes. And they have all these rules as a brokerage about how they get distributed and it's fair and everything. But you're sniffing out those pain points and difficulties, and they're transforming actually the products you're building.
Yeah.
But you're aware of them, but you're not stuck in them. So you can kind of come from the outside and consultatively fix those problems for them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the attributes that I think gives businesses longer term durability, because I think we're both past the 5-year kind of, there's all the statements about 5 year, 7 year, whatever.
Yeah. I'm almost
crash,
to 5 year.
But almost 5 year. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're crossing across this threshold of a lot of businesses have failed by now. And I think the difference is your ability to perceive. And so that's why I think a marketing background helps a lot of people, even if it's Alex Hormozy level, you've just gone through the $1 million leads or whatever it's called.
100 million. Yeah.
$100 million leads. Just because you're understanding some of those metrics, you can look at it through a marketing framework and then the upsell ladder framework, and being able to connect that to this person actually has this difficulty and I can solve it for him. And so you're far enough in that people trust you. You've been doing a good job for them. Now they're willing to share a little bit more with you, and you learn about, hey, internally we have segmented systems, 17 different softwares that could be 3 different softwares and all this stuff. And I see that raw material as something that has probably helped you not become swept aside, either by just people duplicating you.
Yeah.
Because every time you're going forward and not worried about people copycatting, you're solving another problem that now they might be able to solve 2 years later, but you're way ahead of them, because by the time that hits them, you're doing it, and you're doing it better than they're going to be able to do it from the start. But yeah, those raw material characteristics, I have come to find that I think those are what makes businesses stick around.
Yeah. And yes, I agree. But also being able to free yourself from some of the core workload, right? Where you actually have the time and ability to explore other things. So like, for example, I have like my important NOAA events list, right? That I've kept. Anytime something important NOAA events, like just things that happen, right? And it could be across all kinds of stuff. But for Dent Ops in particular, when I had started it, it was just me, right? And I had never had an employee before. But it started to scale very fast because it took off. It was a no-brainer offer, and it started to take off, and I needed to hire employees. And so for the first 6 months of Dent Ops, I was involved on every single estimate, whether I was writing the estimates or I was checking over the work of the estimates or whatever it was. And I remember it was about 6 months into launching Dent Ops. I had the very first estimate that went through start to finish. A customer had submitted it themselves, and my team, the couple people who were on my team at the time, processed it start to finish and delivered it back to the customer. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing in the world. Yeah. I was
and
like,
then for me,
it's possible. It's
all
possible.
the adrenaline that I've used to stay alive for 6 months and like do this thing that's like you have to do the thing and train the person and
wake
hire
up at 3 in the morning in order to
and then
get ahead
I
of volume.
crash.
Yeah.
For like a week, it's not depression. It feels like depression, but I think it's just that my body has to regulate from months and months of exhaustion. That's how building out the first vibe coding platforms for us were. And I lose all motivation. I want to sleep. That's all I want to do. And I seem like the laziest. I have no self-control over food. We had a table full of candy and like junk food in there because I was getting to the end. And I was just crashing, and my whole team was like, especially people who have come on that like knew of us beforehand. So you have like Mike over here, he does social media stuff for us. I think he had this impression of me as like, you're super healthy and stuff because you see the social media impression. Yeah. And it's like, my entrepreneurial journey has been very volatile. Yeah. Like volatile in the good ways and the bad. It's like, it's really, really good. And then I am super depressed because I think that internal, you're able to work those 18-hour days is what makes you survive. And you have from all these biographies and books about.
And you got to recover.
Yeah.
You got to like say like a serious recovery. I remember actually, this is from you. It was a while ago. I can't remember what it was, but I remember you telling a story about something. It was like, I don't know what had happened. It might have been work because you used to work in like the ER and stuff, right? So it might have been work, but you were like, yeah, I went home. I got myself a rotisserie chicken. I went home and I ate the whole thing in the bathtub, or something like that.
Whiskey sours and rotisserie chicken in the bathtub. That
That's
was a
crazy.
weird. I haven't done that in a while, but that was like, yeah, I was always
Weird way to unwind.
I went to like food. I never had an issue with overuse of alcohol, but I went to food and an alcoholic drink to just try and relax. I don't know. But that's one of those things is like you're always trying new things. You're like addicted to trying new things to become more efficient or like think more clearly or stay awake longer. So my current new thing is like I'm up a lot of days. I have 3 little kids, so it varies a little bit. It's more often than not I'm up a lot of days at 3 a.m. I'm like, hey, I have 2 hours before the world's awake. And I need that. I need that margin in my life, whether I'm working or not. And oftentimes I'm working, but sometimes I'm just sitting on the couch staring at a wall.
Yeah.
And it sounds insane, but it's quiet and there's no notifications and there's no people need anything.
Yeah.
And then I can like kind of wake up to my own leisure instead of my kids jumping on me and me being grumpy because I stayed up too late working, and which was the case this morning. Like I was up super late working.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to be that way. I don't want my kids to wake me up and me be happy and or wake up before them, even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, those crazy eccentricities, if that's even a word, eccentric personality traits, I think are what you need at the tip of the spear, and then you need people who don't have that because you need people who are not volatile.
Yeah.
Once you've pierced.
Totally. For me, like I'll do video games, but I know that once I get into a video game, and I like RPGs and stuff, I like a game that I can really get into. I will wait. I'll have the delayed gratification. I'm like, there's a game I want to play, and in order for me to play this thing, I know when I start playing, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to destroy this thing. I'm going to be 80 hours into it, and will have tried to complete every side quest, right?
You leverage yourself.
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm not going to even start it until I accomplish X, Y, and Z. And then I'm going to give myself the time to be able to recover. So now I've got a goal that I'm working towards. And then I can fully kind of unplug and be like, all right, for this weekend or the next couple of weekends or whatever, or maybe a couple evenings in the week even, this is what I'm going to do, and I can look forward to it, but I'm going to accomplish X,
You
Y,
have
and Z
to earn
first.
your leisure.
Earn the leisure,
Yeah.
but then you like really take it, like really disconnect, and
that's
to help with the recovery.
My problem oftentimes, like I wanted to buy an ice bath and it was gonna be like $700, but I was doing them in the winter just with like a horse trough or whatever. And I really wanted to buy it. It was like $700. I was like, I have to do this much increased revenue and retention to earn this. And I didn't do it for 2 years. And it was only $700.
Yes,
and it was kind of, and then I have these other goals that I'm like 3 or 4 years into, which are not good because, but it works for my brain. But I'm like, I'm not going to go on a nice vacation until we get here. But I have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
They have never been on a vacation.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, since we had kids, we've never been, and my oldest son's 5.
Yeah.
So I think that whole like SMART goal thing you learn about is like, it has to be measurable and achievable. And those things. I tend to not make actually near time achievable goals.
Yeah.
And then it's worked for me because I get multiple years straight through of kind of like obsessive workflows. I've learned how to manage that into a family life.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of insanity.
There's definitely,
and there's like I was talking about this with somebody else. There's like an insanity level, and there's a self-torture, I think, a little bit. Like we've talked about stuff that we won't go into on the podcast, and business just weighs on you. It's like, how do I navigate this relationship? How do I navigate this thing? And I've had those too. And you stay up at night thinking about it. And my only antidote to that has been get up so early and be so exhausted I literally can't stay awake.
oh gosh.
And it only works for half the week, and I stay up late once, and the whole rhythm's messed up. But okay.
Yeah.
So
I
you
will
started to talk.
I tie it back in real quick while I was talking about, how big of a milestone it was to have something start to finish, because that freed me up to start working on other parts of the business.
Yes.
That freed me up to start making our own business more efficient, where before it might have taken, 6 hours in order to do a full estimate. It doesn't really take 6 hours to do a full estimate, but just for example, it might have taken 6 hours. Now I can make it so it takes us 4, and then it takes us 3, and then so on and so forth. And then where I could actually focus on the problem of these things aren't getting to the insurance company. How do we solve that problem? How do we create a product or a solution in order to now get these things to the insurance company? How do we monetize that? So on and so forth. How do we spend more time doing the coding so that we can build tools for our internal uses and for our clients to use? Those types of things. And it was just absolutely critical to get out of that day-to-day, which I think goes back to the E-myth too, which has come up multiple times here. You wear so many hats. How do you effectively delegate one or more of those hats so that you can spend more time wearing the other hats in the business, right? So it was definitely huge milestone. And it also proved that it was possible. That was kind of like our, wow, this is a real possibility where I don't have to be the person, solo operator who's involved with every single thing. And it also required an element of trust where I'm like, I trust that my team is going to produce a good result that I would be happy with, that I'd be willing to put out there if I had my hands directly in it now too. And we have a phenomenal team now who's able to help with that, who I completely trust with those kinds of things.
I think a lot about nurture versus nature. I have little kids. I'm thinking about their environments, the things they interact with, and those qualities, like the ability to trust the team. You see a lot of business owners, and you see this in the guru world, and a lot of the stuff doesn't really matter in the bootstrapped years. Like you're just like, I just need to make some money, pay people, make some more money, pay some more people, build the thing that I can't build yet. But that element of, hey, I can delegate out trust. So in our company, I despise the idea of having to micromanage so much that almost everyone that we can get to this for has a one sentence goal for the year where they can have a clear line to, this is how I make more money at the company. And that's really important for me because I want them to figure out the path from A to Z. I just want to give them what Z looks like, what the realistic, because then you have people who solve problems, not people who do tasks. And that ability to trust them comes from an ability to trust for me, an ability to release control. And in some areas, I'm a super high control factor person.
Totally.
Some areas over myself and some areas over, like I have weird quirks where I'm like, hey, this bothers me a lot. Like I have an emotional reaction to this thing that's out of control. There's the thing about our closets. Like there's a book called Margin from the 2000s. It's this physics, I think he's a physicist and a physician. And so he's like very interesting STEM background. He wrote this book all about how not having margin affects your thinking and your ability to be strategic and clear thinking and everything. And so I have this thing about, I want an empty spot in my closet. So we have 5 people that all live in one suite because we like co-sleep and all kinds of weird stuff there that people would find crazy. But when we look through, there's 2 closets in our little suite. When you look through the bathroom into the back closet, there's a shelf. And on that shelf, it will get piled up with stuff because we just don't have a lot of stuff. And so we move things in and out quickly of our house. And if there's no empty space, I'm like, we have to get rid of stuff. We have to have some breathing room because if we are at 100% capacity or over all the time, it's inefficient. It stresses me out. If that part of our house gets messy, I get like really stressed out, but I don't care about the rest of the house really. But when it comes to the team, I feel a breath of fresh air when I'm like, hey, you take this. You figure this out. So like Mike over here has this goal for amount of views. He's like, I have no idea how to get there. I was like, great, we're on the right track. Your ability to solve that problem gives you a valuable skill set. And that's this guy, Johannes something, Jeremiah Goldrat. And he talks all about the importance of your career is actually building a skill and not making money because the money will come when you have an invaluable skill set. Our YouTube guy, videographer, James, he has one about total watch hours. So we have top of funnel, we have watch hours, which is an engagement part of the funnel. And it's just one number for those metrics, and then other operators have other ones. And being able to do that, you'll find it crushes some people. They're not fit for it. There's people who are not fit for a bootstrap environment, and that's okay. That's okay. Bootstrap environments are rough and they're stressful, and you need a certain personality type that has some of those traits that you have. But it's not for everybody.
No.
And so like the trusting team does lead to, okay, high trust factor, low control factor is not going to fit for everybody. And we found that we had to let some people go throughout the years that almost always in sales, which they kind of say for every 3 salespeople you hire, you're going to have one that this actually stays. And we saw that metric super, super clearly. We haven't seen it with a lot of operations just because we hire so slow. But yeah, the trusting team is and the trusting team down funnel, Simon Sinek's I always forget the third piece of this, but he has like a golden compass or something. And he's like a just cause that you can all get behind, that you can be uncomfortable for the sake of that just cause. And then a trusting team. And then the third one, I always forget because I guess it's not that important to me. But the trusting team needs that just cause to rally behind. And then you have to be able to really trust each other, or it's totally not worth being in it, and they won't go through discomfort for it. We don't have health insurance.
Yeah.
We have 7 or 8 full-time employees.
Yeah.
So everyone's on the open market for their health insurance. And I realize as a company owner, that has to happen.
Yeah.
But I also have that goal. We have to get here.
Yeah.
Because it's $100,000 to pay for decent health
it's
insurance for a group
expensive.
of like, actually it's going to be 200 for a group of 8 people. And I don't want to do anything less than what's good.
Totally.
So that's that trusting team and low control factor. I don't think you can scale a company. I have people here at the Innovation Hub where our offices are all the time. Are like, how do you have employees? Like, how do you have a team? Because they're at that first office, just them. I was like, honestly, make enough money to hire someone and do it, even if the money might go away. Because now, as a provider, you have someone to provide for. You have someone that you're responsible for.
Different level of motivation.
And if you collapse, it's not the same as collapsing alone.
Yeah.
You can just go find another. Well, sometimes you can go find another job and go back to work and even make more money and have less difficulty. But once you have somebody that you're responsible for, your company's responsible for, when you have a team of how many people?
About 30.
Yeah. So you wear the responsibilities of 30 people and their kids, not completely. Like Dave Ramsey has a quote where he says, it's in the top of the boardroom. It says, you're all self-employed based on the value you produce is your employment. So I think there's an unhealthy, I need to be the hero complex that you don't need to have. But at the same time, I like the ship metaphor for running a company where it's like you're in a sailboat. You know, at first it's like a little thing, like the thing that's sinking in Jack Sparrow's Pirates of the Caribbean first one. It's like just when you get to the dock, then you get to your next ship.
Yeah.
Ideally, you don't steal it.
Yeah.
But you get to your next ship and you survive longer. But as the captain, you being the captain and being free, that means you're able to read the skies and the seas and be able to detect the storms coming. Whereas your first mate is probably doing the majority of the operations of the ship and making sure everyone's doing their shifts and rowing the boat. Or well, I don't know that much about ships, so the metaphor kind of falls apart there.
Managing the operation.
And so that's exactly the thing, because if you're a captain is down rowing the oars, you're going to run into another ship or you're going to get crushed in a storm.
Yeah, you can't make those high level decisions.
Yeah.
You can't steer this thing.
And that takes that trust. It's like, hey,
it requires, it's not possible without it.
Yeah.
It's not possible without it.
All right. Little more practical thing here, a little bit more into the weeds of the world you live in. For your audience, if you had some people in here who maybe it's the actual dent replacement or the R&I, what is a very, very common line item that you guys would add to an estimate that you see missing from estimates all the time? Like, what's one very practical tip that's like, you're probably not billing for this, but you should be?
That's really hard because there's so many. Aluminum versus high strength steel. There's different types of metals, right? And it's been proven. There's studies. We have an industry organization called NAPDR, NAPDRT, that actually did what they called an aluminum study that just showed how much more effort it required in order to repair aluminum versus standard metal, and it was like 125% more. Like pressure, basically.
And you can bill for that.
You can bill for it. Yeah. You call it markup. So you add a 25% markup to it. So a lot of softwares will tell you if a panel is aluminum or high strength steel. So it's literally just looking, is this aluminum or high strength steel? Add a markup to it, 25%. So boom, 25% right there.
Interesting.
It's very, very common. Most shops know that already, but maybe if some don't, then they could be doing that. There's also, if you're going to take a hood off to repair it, for example, there's the time that it takes to mount to a stand. Most of the time, you're not going to repair a hood on the car. If there's not a lot of damage or they're in easily accessible spots, you might repair it on the car. But most of the time, you're going to take it off and put it on a hood stand. Is what most operations do. You can get paid to take that off the car and put it on a hood stand and mount it to the stand. So ask for an extra, 0.2, 0.3 body hours, which is going to be, $20, $30, but still $20, $30.
This reminds me of in elementary school, and they're like, you have to do the thing at the front where you teach somebody how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich. You have to tell them what to do. But if you don't give them every explicit instruction, like put the peanut butter on the sandwich, you don't give them the butter knife, they have to do it with their hand.
Yeah.
Like that silly thing. This reminds me of like you, because you're outside of what they're doing in the day to day, and you guys have this context to there's a lot of small percentages that accumulate.
Yes.
Overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots and lots of them. The other one that I'll say there are a lot, and that's like our whole thing is us going through and finding all of the potential operations that you could ask for. You can ask for everything. Doesn't mean you're going to get approved for it, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, which is perfect into this last one. We have a number of miscellaneous like fees that we ask for, like estimating fee or documentation fee, administration fee, like different things like that are sometimes you'll get approved for them, sometimes you won't, but they become negotiation tools. It's like any negotiation. Everybody, each person on each side of the negotiation, they want to win something, right?
And they want to knock something off.
They want to knock something off. So give them something to knock off if you need to. Some of them are going to approve it. And now you're going to get paid an extra $250 estimating fee or an admin fee. Fantastic.
Some of them probably don't even pay attention.
Some of them maybe don't pay attention. Some of them probably just agree to it and say, yeah, that's fair. You had to do all this work in order to give me the information I need to do my job. So we'll compensate you for it. It's reasonable. But then you'll have some insurance companies who might fight you on it. And it just gives you leverage to be able to say, look, I'm willing to move on some of these things. I need you to pay for the damages. Absolutely. The dents that I said are on the car, I need to get paid for those. What I'm asking for. So please, if you can match my number over here, then I'm willing to waive this fee over here.
It's an anchoring tactic.
Exactly.
Where you're like, I really care about this 80%, this 20%. It kind of just puts their eyes elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so they realize, hey, this 80% is the bulk of it, and that's what really matters.
Exactly.
So
it's setting you up for negotiations.
Have you read any specific books on negotiating that have helped you with that? Or is that just something as you've gone through the process hundreds and thousands of times, you've just picked up on?
Well, it's a combination. So, the different mentors in the industry. So there's Paul Corden is a good friend of ours, and he's also like a leader in terms of pricing strategies in the PDR industry. He's been very super influential.
Shout out to Paul.
Yeah, shout out to Paul. And so from him, and also actually his brother Tim, Paul Corden and Tim Corden, I learned those negotiating strategies from them actually. Cool. But then it's also, touched on in things like there's a book called The Like Switch, which is really great that has to do with negotiation. And then there's what's the other super popular one?
The FBI guy.
Yeah, the FBI guy. Never Split the Difference. Yeah. So in Never Split the Difference also, you got your anchoring tactics, exactly like you said. And so your ability to come back and make concessions.
I'm like one book deep into a lot of topics. And on that topic, that's the one book deep I am. So I'm always like, I should probably read a second book.
Yeah.
Like, because I read E-Myth, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then I read Purple Cow, I was like, whoa. This is complete opposite worlds, and they both have value, especially in a shifting economic market. Sometimes you want to be that. Sometimes you have a large percentage of your customer base that is E-Myth, that is scalable, that is really, really solid, but you need the special forces experimentation side. Purple Cow.
Yeah, all those concepts help you to synthesize in different situations, like what's going to be the most, like what strategies should you use? There's going to be hybrid stuff. You're going to figure out your own strategies. So a lot of it for us, in terms of learning in the negotiations and everything, having both the estimating side and the claim side where we're doing negotiations now creates this beautiful feedback loop where we write the estimates and then we get to interact with the insurance companies in order to see what they're really fighting us on. And we use that to improve how we write the estimates. We want to get better results. And one thing that we've experienced over time is we might write an estimate sky high, and then the final approval, say we get an estimate up to 10 grand, which isn't exactly sky high, but easy numbers, 10 grand. And then it gets approved at 6 grand. That delta between those numbers, we don't like that. That's too high because that means when we write the estimates, we're setting the expectation too high. And it's just like anything else. When you expect you're going to get paid 10 grand, but you only get paid 6, you're going to be really disappointed.
Did your customers see that 10 grand portion of it?
Yeah. They see that 10 grand portion.
So they're like, you guys failed. Even if they would have gotten 3 grand and now you've gotten them 6, they see that difference of loss.
Yes. And it's a completely legitimate. It's not like we make things up. It's just some insurance companies, like the big insurance companies, they can throw their weight around, and you can spend a year fighting them if you want to until you get the results. But shops don't have a year to spend. We have to get results fast. So what makes more sense is to understand these nuances for each job that we're working. And it's much, much better. Like for the shop, their original estimate might have been 3 grand, right? So we still got them paid 100% more than what they would have gotten paid if insurance approved them for everything they were asking for. But it's not about that. It's about the expectation.
First,
the fear of the loss, right? So going from 10 to 6 is a huge loss. And it's like, wow, man, why would I do that? And now their perception is, why would I even pay for the service? We can't have that. So we need to decrease. We've been working on it. We're constantly working on it. Decrease that delta. Way better if we can say we're going to get this up to 7, and then it falls down to 6. Fantastic.
So this is an interesting point to bring in this question. To me, one of the biggest benefits of artificial intelligence tools like large language models, and I know, depending on your level of expertise, those terms, criticize me for using them, whatever.
Sure.
Whatever we're using right now that is this product of large language models and the combination of all of it. You have done how many roughly estimates?
Oh gosh.
Claims?
Well over 10,000.
Okay. So you have these 10,000 claims that probably have at easily 10 data points, if not 50 data points, whatever inside of them. Are you broaching, or have you already done moved into where AI is you're able to upload all of your data into one of these platforms, one of the larger token limit like Claude probably, and it can actually start looking for the solutions to the delta between 6 and 10, but just random numbers, where it can actually start detecting like, hey, out of this 3,000, this one thing got rejected the most often, this one thing got accepted the most often, maybe there's this thing, or maybe this type of car, they accept this. Like, because what I've learned through podcasts I've listened to is the intricacies of risk analysis that these insurance companies do are incredibly detailed. And it's almost like AI would be enabling the people who are presenting this. My mother-in-law works in medicine, has her own clinic. She deals with very similar issues with insurance all the time. It would be enabling, because they have such large data models. It enables you, once you hit scale with your data, to perceive some of these internal algorithms they use. Is that anything that you've started working on yet? Does it have any practical application for you?
Yeah. So that's interesting. We have started doing some things, not exactly in that area. That is very interesting. There's a survey by someone in the collision industry named Mike Anderson, who's a big figure in the collision industry. He has a survey called the Who Pays for What, and that's what you're describing makes me think of, where it's essentially independent shops report which insurance companies pay for certain operations. Okay, so that to me sounds similar to what you're talking about, where it's like, can we take all of this information? Can we take all of this information and sorry, I got distracted. Can we take?
We can cut that part.
That's okay. That's okay. But can we take all of this information and report back essentially the Who Pays for What survey to see which insurance companies are paying for certain operations?
Yeah,
we could absolutely do that. It doesn't seem like it'd be too difficult to do. The tricky part of it, though, is that different insurance companies are constantly changing their SOPs and like what they're approving, what they're not approving, and just constantly pulling those levers, right? It's particularly the bigger insurance companies. Again, they throw their weight around, and so they might say, we're getting too many people asking for this particular operation. We're just going to start rejecting it. Yeah. And now they changed it. So now the prediction kind of changes. Similar with how we write estimates, we're constantly updating in order to like basically follow those same, like we know that these guys are no longer approving this, so we have to shift up tactics a little bit.
Let's pause for a second, because I don't want to miss this part. We can leave all that in. He's going to be searching around on the TV probably, unless it comes right back up. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah. So it's constantly shifting. So we're just constantly, trying to adapt our estimates in order to get the best approvals and still maintain, like, decrease that delta between like what we ask for and what we actually get approved for.
I'm excited about the data wars and being the underdog in the data war kind of thing. So you have this thing where you're able to bring a horizontal group of data from across an industry where a lot of it's microcosms in different shops and everything in dealerships throughout the country. And to me, one of the levers I'm excited about with what you're doing is that it's like AI is the great equalizer of people who have either A, had expertise, or B, had data. They just won the data wars and they have all this data about people and they're able to have advantages because of their data, where now you have a weapon of similar scale, which is bad. Probably shouldn't think of everything as weapons and enemies and antagonism.
Totally.
That's a lens I see. I think of metaphors through. But yeah, that's exciting to me, because it's like, what do they know that you don't about these approvals that can, like, that maybe you could get the 10,000 every time, or maybe it goes higher because you kind of like, it's like picking a lock, you have to hit each of the what are those things called inside of a lock? There's
I know what you're talking about. They'll do it in video games a lot where you have
yeah,
to, you have to
like the old Final Fantasy game. The tumblers, yeah. So you have to get through each tumbler, and these insurance companies have these 27-step tumblers, and all their internal algorithms. It's all secretive, but like it's actual systems. And now you have this key that can actually kind of start picking a lock. That, in retrospect, for a long time, the whole insurance industry is just risk analysis and more data than you. And I'm excited about the opportunities you have. Anyone has in software as the great equalizer of the software as a service world.
Yeah, definitely. And helping to also being able to leverage AI to help write the estimates too. We don't believe in AI end to end. I know we've talked about it before. I see it very much as an augmenter where how can I use it to help my team do 10x what they're able to now currently and offload most of the tedious stuff that takes time. And what's cool with AI and any technology is you can run stuff in parallel. So where one person can only do one estimate at a time, you can have 10 agents doing 10 estimates simultaneously. And then that one person, their job is to review the output and make sure that it's good to go. And now they've just done essentially
It's like it
10
moves
estimates.
them to manager level.
Exactly.
Or at least, like junior manager level where it's not grunt work. And even, so we have, I think we have 8 full-timers, 2 part-timers, and then 4, we call them ITMs, people call them VAs for a while, but like they're part of our team, but they're international team members. We have a couple in Nigeria, a couple in Vietnam, I think.
Yeah.
And those people, we're not seeing AI as replacing them because they've been in roles doing due diligence, doing a good job in the different realms they're in. Some of them are in creative, and that's still not there in terms of actually being able to escalate their up to a management level. But the ones who aren't, who are in SEO, attribution, some of those places, we see it as an opportunity for, just like anyone here, for them to do more and manage more and make more money.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the part that's scary to me about the whole AI change in the world. And this happens with every technological change. It's happening a lot faster with AI, is that at big companies where these roles exist, they're evaporating.
Yeah.
So huge atmospheric levels at horizontal levels of the company just evaporating. And we're small enough where it can be like, hey, we're okay margin wise. You all just need to accelerate your ability. And so everyone now, the ability to adapt to new technology is a core necessary trait, whereas just running a technology before was a core necessary trait. And so it's created a new lens we have to look at hiring through, but we're not really hiring because I'm like, everyone on our team, including me, has probably gotten to like 2x, maybe 3x. And there's a lot of headroom. We just have to have the bandwidth to actually deploy it.
Yeah.
And that's why some companies are bringing in a person who's literally just going to different rooms. I know a guy who just brought in a guy to do this. Just go into different teams and be like, what do you do every day?
Yeah.
Let me replace it. And they have to be clear to them, we're not replacing you.
Yeah.
We're giving you headroom to go be pioneers in whatever you do for us. But we are expecting you to pioneer.
Uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah. Because they're terrified. Because they're like, oh, it's the
for people like us, we would love that.
Yeah.
We would love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, though, want to just do their job and just to do it every day. And they don't really they know they're going to do it well, but that's just what they want to do. And they want to get their paycheck for doing that. They don't want to go do something else.
Right. They're not pioneers by nature. And so one of the biggest shakedowns for small companies like ours, like who are the pioneers and who are the people who they're static characters in the novel. They're not dynamic. They're not going to evolve and change. And realizing that technology is forcing the people to be people who evolve and change. Yeah. And if they can't, that's one of the things at my level of team size and company, that's one of the things that's going to make people unqualified at this point, is their ability to change or not change.
Yeah.
Or their tendency to not change.
Definitely.
All right. So wrapping up, we talked about AI a little bit. What do you think the future of the PDR industry looks like? And you can pick the years because they're specific to you probably. Sure. But let's say 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, changing technology, where your company trajectory is, how you've seen it modified by artificial intelligence, but not just that. Any other kind of big lever changes you're seeing in your industry? Where are you seeing it going?
Yeah. So macro level on our industry, like I mentioned at the beginning of all this, is a relatively young industry, but we're hitting that kind of maturity curve, I think, where some of the earliest people in the industry have either just kind of retired. Like the early people are just retiring. And more people are getting to that age where traveling for hail still being the biggest opportunity is just like, I'm too old for this. My body's breaking down. I need to spend. I want to spend more time with my family. I just want to plug into my community. I don't want like this. Time for a transition. So we've already seen it ticking up, but I think that over the next 5 years, especially, we're going to see a lot more local brick and mortar shops where people were just independent contractors traveling for hail before. Now they're settling down and they've got their brick and mortar shop. Maybe they go out for a storm, maybe 2 per year, or they're just hoping for a storm back home. So I think there's going to be more and more of that. That's actually part of our thesis with Dent Ops is that we're like, those are our kinds of clients we want to work with. We want to continue to increase our market and our map of shops where we're at around the 600 now. We want to continue to increase that all across the country. We see it as we're casting a wide net for hail because you never know when or where it's going to hit. So we want to have as many opportunities where we're kind of already in as we can. So that's the biggest one, honestly. And with that comes a transition of people who are 95% of the industry. The businesses are technician run, right? So the people who own the business are also the technician in the business. I don't think that that's going to change for a while, although we are seeing a lot more shops and hail operations that are not run by technicians. Actually, a lot of salespeople in the industry have started creating their own operations
They
where
smell money and they want to go.
yeah, when they sub out the work. And the reality is you deal with a lot of stuff. Everybody thinks that what they do is the most valuable part of the business, that the business could not run without them, right? And so that's the reality is it's a combination of everything. You need everything in order to make the operation run. So you can't devalue other people in their work too. You can always play with the numbers in order to make it work better for certain parties or whatever. But so basically the short of it is the number of operations are going to continue to grow a lot. And the compound annual growth rate of the industry as a whole is a good bit faster than the collision and body shop world. And the PDR is taking more and more market share from collision and body shops too. So basically what that means is overall, the industry is going to continue to grow at a faster and faster rate. And then also it's going to take more market share from body shops, which is really awesome, in my opinion, for our industry. Technology-wise, my goal is for Dent Ops to lead the charge in terms of technology for core businesses. Now, there's other technologies too, like there are scanners and stuff out there. Scanners being like you drive a car through, it identifies the dents that are on the car. That's great. All that stuff is going to continue to happen, and it's going to get better and better and better. That's not really anything that we're involved in because as of right now, in terms of technology, just like a lot of new technology, it's usually really expensive until it gets, maybe more condensed and more affordable for those other operations. So it's not really our market there, although we do play an important part of that ecosystem because even those scanners need to get translated into the insurance language. So
yeah, that was a question I was about to ask. So do you see yourself over the next few years going deeper vertically into the precise stack you're on? Or do you see yourself going horizontal into other potential revenue streams in relation to this industry, like scanners? Could you see yourself being an equity partner in a scanner company, or do you're like, no, we're probably going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the claims, into the quotes, into the workflows, kind of adding to the top and the bottom of what we're doing? Or do you see yourself spreading wider?
Both. We kind of have a focus on both of them vertically for the individual operations that we work with, where we want to be able to provide our vision since the beginning of Dent Ops is to essentially have a platform where PDR businesses can run their operation. So call it software, start to finish. You can run your business on our platform where you're not necessarily using our services. You're using our software and our platforms in order to run your PDR business, but you can one-click outsource your parts of your business to our services, like our estimating, like our claims, and we have several more that we're working on too. Right. So increasing that vertical to be able to have basically the one-stop shop for PDR operations to run their business on, whether you're a one-man operation or you're a 20-man operation. And then we've built really a machine on our services side of things with the estimating and the claims where we can scale it up and down a lot. And that we've built in such a way where enterprises can plug into our solutions too. So whether you're, we call them third-party administrators or directly with insurance companies, we have investments and we're actually equity partners in a company that partners with insurance companies to distribute claims directly over to our repair partners. Right, so to help create that pipeline. So we 100% play a role in that whole ecosystem, and we continue to talk to different potential third-party administrators context on that, third-party administrator is just somebody who essentially the insurance company contracts out to handle the claims fulfillment, right? So writing the estimates for the insurance company, managing the repair, like getting it to a repair facility, and just basically the insurance company can delegate the claim responsibilities to a third party. That's their whole job. So working with third party administrators to be able to say, like, hey, you have all these needs also, and you, just like any other company, have limited capacity and overhead. Hailstorms, again, we don't know when it's going to happen. It might be a really, really bad year. It might be a slow year. Who knows? But excess capacity, like, we're here for that also. And we've built a system and a process that can help you handle that excess workload. That's where AI and a lot of technology and our background in technology really comes into play too, because obviously we need to have the ability to really scale like that, right, with a limited team as well. So, but the short answer is both vertical and horizontal.
Yeah. So your audiences or your markets, like grassroots starts with small mom and pop shops. Next level up is these potentially third-party contractor networks. Top tier enterprise for you probably look like actually direct to insurance companies where they can resell you back out to these groups. Is that kind of your tiers?
Yes. Yeah. That's a good breakdown.
If you had, so the spirit of this channel is kind of the ability to provide for a family eventually. Yeah. So if you had to say what type of providers would be ideal to work in your industry, whether it's at your company on the software side or physically in the industry, we know multiple other guys who work in this industry. Mm-hmm. It has, and we touched on some of the attributes of travel and everything. What are the type of people who you think should pursue a future in this industry versus those who shouldn't? Give you a curveball there.
Yeah, that is a curveball. So you're saying just kind of in general, whether they're going to be technicians or they're going to be operating, like doing software or doing B2B like me and what we do.
Yeah, maybe you can separate those two out. So let's say first the people who would be on the road. So R&I or the actual dent pushers.
Works really well if you're single. It's a lot easier if you're single.
Yeah.
If you do have a partner, if you do have kids, I have seen some people fairly successfully be able to travel with their kids and their family. If that's possible, then that's great. But it's also really helpful to be able to semi-disconnect and just really focus in, because we call it a seasonal opportunity, right? So taking advantage of that seasonal opportunity. I have a friend who they do 20 weeks a year. That's all they do. And they know when they go, they'd love to bring their family, but the family can be somewhat of a distraction, for better or for worse, right? And so he wants to be able to go out and he wants to be able to hit it, get up early, work late, and do that every day for 20 weeks until he has hit his number or he's just hit his time frame, and then he's back home for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
For the remaining 32 weeks of the year. Yeah. And so if you can have that kind of dedication and like focus, then that could potentially work really well. But again, it's really, really difficult for couples and for families. I've seen a lot of families struggle and a lot of families fall apart in the industry. So
do you see it as maybe a part of the progression? Ideally, you could get some experience and then start a shop locally and be rooted, or that's just the nature of it, and that's just, those people should just be okay with that?
So many nuances. Yeah. There's so many nuances to it. Picking a radius and say, I'm only going to work within this radius, but then you limit yourself. What if it doesn't hail in that radius? Joining a local retail shop, because there will be more and more and more retail shops. Now, the other thing I'll say too is the most money you can make is when you go and do hail. And when I say the most, I mean, you're talking probably multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars per year when you're really into it and you have the experience.
Wow.
But you can still make good money when you're working locally with the dent business. So whether it's an established dent business or you're starting one yourself, it can be hard, just like any business, to break into the market and start to build up those customers and those client base.
The ideal provider maybe for this is someone who is early in their career, doesn't have a career yet. It's kind of like a sales parallel where you can go make a lot of money and then maybe take that money and put it into either a totally different vertical or just set yourself up well with a good nest egg at the beginning of your life. Okay, last question.
Well, I'll say real quick, best way to break into the industry for hail is probably to start doing R&I, because everybody always goes from R&I. I took a different path, but everyone always goes from R&I to pushing dents because you make more money pushing dents. But you can make really good money doing R&I. So there's always a void to be filled with R&I. There's always high demand for it. No PDR technician wants to be doing the R&I, taking apart the cars.
It's a crazy question. You're not prepared for this. If somebody wanted to get into R&I, how in the world would they even do that? You just need to know somebody.
You could go to a body shop to start like learning about taking apart cars, putting together cars. But honestly, yeah, just try to figure out where it hailed. I mean, it's easy. It's kind of easy. If you just search for where did it hail over the last week or whatever, you could literally, I guarantee you could just go to a town. Now this would probably be crazy for some people. It doesn't seem crazy to me, but you could literally show up to a town that got hit with hail and drive around. You will know who's working on hail because they'll have signs saying hail damage repair. There'll be tents. There will be body shops. You'll be able to figure it out. Yeah. And you can go to somebody and say, hey, I will do your R&I for you and just come up with the rate. I would say start at, at least $100 per car. Don't undershoot
no
yourself.
Experience? Or if you want experience,
that's the hard thing. You say, hey, if you're handsy, like not handsy, but if you like tinkering with things, if you like building things, taking things apart, anything like that, if you do more, manual labor type stuff, you probably won't have a hard time. It's not rocket science, these cars. But you probably should watch some videos on like how to take apart.
You could literally pull up YouTube as you do it for every car.
Every single
almost
car.
Every car.
Pretty much every car. Yeah. And look up how to do X, Y, and Z. But maybe watch a few videos on just generally how to take down a headliner, how to remove a hood. Once you do them a few times, you're going to be like, okay, I generally know how this is. It's pretty consistent across them. American cars are usually easier to work on than like German cars, which is kind of a common thing anyways. But
okay, so young providers, you can literally drive to your closest hail store when hail season starts, find a shop and just say, hey, can I start taking cars apart for you? I'll use on YouTube, offer a discounted rate, just get in there, do it for cheap until you can do it better than other people and then charge the rate. That's one way in. Guys who are out of work, AI is taking up your job and it's melting away opportunities. You have a role for provision regardless of the economy and what's happening around you. And that's, I would argue, not an excuse for anyone. So go search. And that's the crazy thing about entrepreneurs and why they do okay in hard economic times is because they're kind of like, there's not really lines. We see these norms and cultural norms and boundaries everywhere. And I think a lot of entrepreneur type people don't, either they see them and don't care, or they just don't even naturally see them as well. Where you're like, yeah, I'll go cross all those norms and drive out to a place and show up to a stranger and be like, can I take these cars apart for you and make some decent money? It doesn't sound crazy to me, but it would sound crazy to a lot of people. So multiple opportunities. If you need a career switch, if you are looking to get into one, make some decent money, that's AI is just melting away white collar jobs. And so you might find that there's more careers in blue collar. The other question, the last one I'll ask you, and you can take a second if you need to think about this.
Sure.
If you had to give a message to the providers that already work for you in your company on being more valuable, incredibly valuable, on continuing to be valuable to your company in the age of AI, what would you say to those people? And like, hey, this is how you'll stay relevant and valuable and important as a performance team, which is how we stay a viable company. We're a performance team, not a family. What would you say to those people in your own company? What are the attributes that you want to kind of like call out for them that are important to you in the next 5 years?
Definitely. I'll say it to the camera. So first off, you're doing great already.
There you go.
And second, and I've emphasized this to my team, is learn how to use the AI tools. Absolutely. And try to understand. We try to do a good job of explaining. We don't just tell people what to do. We try to help make sure they understand why they're doing what they're doing and how it has an impact to the overall organization. So try to really understand how what you're doing has an impact to the whole workflow, where it fits into the grand vision and scheme of things, and learn technology, learn to use AI, whether it's just, Chat GPT or it's Lovable or any of these development tools or anything, because they create so much access, and experiment. And we've told our team already, if you figure out how to do things better and you bring that, you will be rewarded. There's no situation where you're ever going to bring a better solution to the table and we're going to fire you for it, or we're going to demote you for it. There's only upside potential all across the board. So the more, it's not possible to do unless you really understand why your job and what it is that you do on like a daily basis, why it matters and how it fits into the overall operation, the organization. And then identifying like, hey, we're taking the long way around in order to get from point A to point Z. There's a shorter way without compromising results and quality, and helping to identify that. I mean, it just goes back to contributing to the overall organization. So I don't know if that's a good answer for you, but like that's to me been top of mind, especially with all the AI stuff that's been happening. Is just like, I am one person. If I'm the only person using it in my company, then it will have an impact. If there's all 30 people putting their brains on this and thinking about solutions in my company, goodness gracious, I don't know what we wouldn't be able to accomplish. Like that's just insane.
Yeah.
So
there's a gut check in Beyond Entrepreneurship, the 2.0, the new version for CEOs, I think is important for teams to hear. And that is, as a CEO, if you're thinking through the people on your team and you're just giving your gut check, if this person was gone, what would it matter? Right? How would you feel in response to that? And then when you're going through your team and you're thinking in your head, and to the team members, you want to be the person that owner, CEO thinks to themselves, I cannot make it without this person.
Yeah.
They have unique skill sets. They have the drive, desire, ability to solve problems. Those attributes, even if you like get paid more to solve one problem, a consistent pattern of that for me is huge. Consistently solving problems. And when you run into boundaries, figuring out how to go around or over them, and needing less and less input, that to me is like, I don't care how old you are. I don't care what your education is. I don't care how long you've been here. On a performance team, you continue to perform under the new circumstances. Yeah. I think that's another way of saying exactly what you were just saying. So
that and outside of Dent Ops, like any of it, those are skills that are universal. Like even if they're no longer, I want every person on our team to have the best life possible. And I'm not naive. I know that might be outside of Dent Ops at some point. Might be outside of Dent Ops now, right? But those hopefully not. But those skills are, I can't see the world. Like genie's out of the bottle. Like I can't see a world where that doesn't help in any single job that they might be working. Doesn't matter what it is in terms of learning how to do the job better. If it's like more of a hands-on job, or just being able to leverage technology to do the job faster or better, it's just always going to be helpful. So yeah.
Awesome. That was great. I want to have you back relatively soon. I think get through another hail industry or repair season. I'm always curious to see those kind of weird periods of time. They're like 3-6 months where it's you're kind of having these leaps. Maybe you can't implement things yet. You're seeing, go through a whole new iteration of operations. And I'm always curious, especially with us in our age of companies, there's things just changing fast. And I guess they're changing fast everywhere now. But I'd love to have you back after the next hail season and see what you've learned and what you have to share with us.
That'd be awesome. I think it'll be a really different world at that point.
Yes, very different. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Provisium providers, thank you so much for tuning in. Check out noahdentops.com.
Yep.
Dentops.com if you want to learn more about the industry. I won't give away your email on this because I don't want you to get spammed with a bunch of people who are looking for jobs, but you can just roll up to any dent repair and I guess find your way in. They're going to be looking for people who will tear apart cars for them. So there's your way in.
If you want to contact us, you can email support@dentops.com. We'll see it there.
Support email. But you actually read those, right?
Yes, I do.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Providers, we'll see you soon.